Hey, welcome back to another installment of the Red Jeep. I was going to drive up north to the Seattle area over Christmas. I got everything packed up and I started to leave and made it 100 miles, and it just started running really rough and blowing smoke, unburned fuel. So I limped it 100 miles back home and loaded the stuff in my other Jeep and took off on my trip. Well, I just got back, so I pulled it in the garage, and now I got to figure out what's wrong. I'm going to pull all the spark plugs, and then we'll see where we go from there. So right now I'm going to start on the spark plugs. Sure is tight in here. This 5.3 takes up all the available room between the fender well with the batteries, but I got it. Well, so far it's unanimous. All 8 spark plugs like this, they are just fouled. So I pulled all 8 spark plugs out and they're all fouled the same. So that pretty much eliminates a single injector, a single coil spark plug. So it tells me that there's something higher up that's the power or the grounds to the coils or something. So anyway, I am going to take the wiring harness out, check the wire bundle at the computer, and check grounds and powers, and then I'm going to go from there all the way back through until I get to the coils and the injectors. I didn't really want to have to get into the wiring harness, but since I put this project together, I've had a lot of electrical issues, a lot of codes coming up that I can't figure out. Some lean codes and mass airflow, and just it's never been right. So I've always suspected that there might be some bad connections in the wiring harness. So I'm going to have to bite the bullet and pull out the wire harness and check those connections. I did have a couple of them fail underneath the dash, so that's what I'm going to do. I got the wire harness, all the covering, the tape and all that stuff off, and found some interesting stuff, and I'll show you what I found. When I put this together, I used these butt connectors that you use a heat gun and it melts the solder, and I figured that might be a good thing. But I have found a number of these so far that the wire, they work well on good wire, new wire, but they do not work real well on old greasy wire. So I have started replacing. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 right here, and I've started over here. So as I'm replacing these wires, I needed a way to hold them, and I had this old setup. It had a magnifying glass and 2 roach clips on it, and it was the cheapest piece of junk I ever saw. But I picked this up last night. I got it from Napa actually, but it holds the wire, it's magnetic, and these are magnetic, so it's real easy to put the wires on, and then when you're all done, you can separate it really nicely. So this actually has been a very well working piece of equipment. The other one I had was just a piece of junk. So anyhow, but here's what I've been doing. So I have this one done. I'm soldering these together. I soldered this one and this one, but I forgot heat shrink, so now I'm going back and putting heat shrink on. And then I have a couple more in here that I'm going to need to replace. So turns out one of these these are the 4 main circuits for the standalone setup, and one of them, this one right here, I fixed it, and then I have one more down here. It actually goes to the O2 sensors and to the mass airflow, which I'm having codes on both of those. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to find that I'm going to have a bad wire in there that's intermittent, and that's why I keep getting these codes. So anyway, it's kind of a mess. This wiring is looks like a rat's nest, but as I get this thing completed, I'm going to put all these wires back in a nice neat little bundle and get all the shielding back on them and get them taped up real nicely. So I'll show you a picture when I'm done. So I've got all these now kind of buttoned up, and I'm working right here going across, and so I'm just working my way across, replacing. I got the just soldered this one, and boy, I'll tell you, this holder, this wire holder, I really like that. I fought with that other one for so long, but anyway. And then a new addition to my tools is I got this butane soldering, and it's a good heat shrink. For the bigger wires, this has a couple really big tips, but anyway, I really like this. It works well. And then my favorite is the Milwaukee soldering gun. Anyway, this thing really is nice. No cords to get in the way. So I have about a dozen more to do in here, and I'm going to work my way all the way over to the battery and around, and so hopefully by the end of today I'll have these wires buttoned up. One thing I found very important is putting flux on these wires before trying to solder them. Apparently the oil leaks through the sheathing of the wire or something. Anyway, if you don't flux them real well, I found they don't solder very well. I am now done with the Jeep. I had a few more those butt connectors than I thought I did. There's probably close to 15, but I got all of those replaced, and now I got all the wires buttoned back up. I did start it and it runs good. So the test will be if I don't throw any more codes. But here's the finished product. So that wrap nest of wires is now nicely tucked up and out of the way, and goes back to the computer. I'm gonna tape those up, and I do have some loom for the little piece there, but other than that, the engine compartment is back in shape.